Maxine Miller, librarian, 2006 to 2010. I want to say about the library, about the living archive. When I went to Iniva to work, I was absolutely transformed by the idea that Sonia and David had of the living archive. The library became a place where people came in and they brought more about what they knew than what was actually in the library. And I welcome that. Not a gatekeeping library, but a living archive. Yes? Over the time there, for whatever reasons, it became like a sort of archive, you know, boxes, and not really respecting the practice of people who came in. And it was so frustrating, because as that began to happen, there wasn't even the infrastructure of the archive. So you had neither, yes? So I really welcome what people have said about the library, and to say that people like Anya and Aye, yes, before me, did a lot of work for that, and the fact that people could come in as young artists and have the legacy of practice, yeah, and the issues around race and culture in this country. I come from a background from the GLC and ILEA librarians, so I knew what it was when the GLC put some funding towards the art. We knew, we were there, and to have people say later on, it didn't happen, no. That's why the archive and the library were there. As time has gone on, other libraries have been able to collect some of the material that is within Iniva. I know because I've worked at others. Some of the contemporary stuff, some of the exhibition catalogues, some of the monographs, but they cannot capture the spirit of Iniva. That is what is in that library, and the spirit of Iniva is the people coming in. So yes, I think the library is very important because it will inform Iniva's programme and it will document it. I just want to reaffirm that. For the future, I'd also say it began to slow up because what Iniva needs to do is to make that information part of a hub of information. Iniva Library could not have done it on its own. So what needs to happen with digitisation, yes, and so on, was it become a hub of a network of information. And that was one of the first things that began to falter. You haven't got time to do that, come to meetings, But what we really wanted to do was to network, because most libraries now can't do it all on their own. What we try to do is to become that network of information so we can send people from collection to collection. We're not proud, we share. That's the word you said. Libraries are for sharing, yes? So I'm really, really pleased that you all recognise the power of the library, and the former librarians and the present librarians here, Nick and Sonia and myself. I'm really pleased about that. But we need to make sure that the material is preserved. That's the other thing. Storage, proper preservation. Yeah? So there are all these things to play for. Yeah? Okay. So.
My name is Nick Brown, and I'm the current librarian at Iniva. And I've been asked to prefix everything that I say with this is my personal experience, opinion, rather than the official views of Iniva. But I'd like to reiterate, well, what a privilege it's been so far working with the collection, that I've never met such an engaged bunch of users, that I've had people literally in tears discovering what we have there. In simple ways about how we collect, that we try and collect in a sort of grassroots way up, that we, through the work that people like Christine does, continuing the role that Rashimi started as a library animateur, to make it a living collection, to have the ideas that are contained in the collection discussed, and to have the people from different career stages able to contribute, and we try and do that just in simple ways. It can be through collecting in different formats, through getting zines and things that maybe contain slightly more oppositional views, and also to try and continue the work that was done just in simple things like how we index the journal articles that come in, how we actually become, our catalogue therefore is a different way into researching a subject from what you'll get at a university library. My own engagement with Iniva is relatively recent. I'm a new member of STAR. I became aware of Iniva really after the building, and I was aware of the writing of various people and various artistic practices before that. I can say that my understanding, although I'm yet to be told about what the board's decisions and directions are, is that the future of the library is secure at Rivington Place for at least the next year to 2 years. My main concern is, as has been articulated by the rest of the panel, that without a fundamental change in direction, that I can't see Iniva being in a better position than it currently is.
Hi guys. First of all, I just want to. My name is Heidi Iniva, and I first just want to mention and thank many people that I see here. Like Grant said, I grew up in South Africa reading texts by many people here, looking at their work, and you guys have been so open to a newcomer like myself that I've had the opportunity to just meet with you guys and talk with you guys, and I just first of all just want to say that's amazing, and I hope that that's a tradition that is old and will continue into the future. But I also just want to find out, like, me being an artist, I feel like that was the kind of place that I was kind of destined to end up, a place like Iniva. But I see so many other things happening outside of the institution. Young people who feel like they want to create, like they want to learn, and they may not be in the position like I am to kind of fall into Iniva. And I would just like to know, like, is that something you're conscious of? Because myself being a newcomer, I see that within this institution we are trying to work towards a certain direction, but I don't know if to an outsider, someone who may not have read or seen as much, if they see the difference between this institution and other institutions, whether you need to be within this institution to see that we have different goals. So I'd just like to know whether you guys are conscious of that, whether it's something that you want to be seen as that, or whether it's something that we're working on. I'm just curious what your thoughts are. Thank you.
Well, actually, I would just like, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I would just like to, because it's really great that we've got Ghislaine here, who was the former director of Iniva at its inception. And I'd really like to hear from Ghislaine, and also John and Lena are here, John Okonkwo and Lena Gopal. So I'd really like to hear a little bit from them, personally, but just to say that. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could answer that question.
It's up to Ghislaine to ask the question about what Iniva looks like.
Do we want to
now.
come back? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Maybe I'll have a go at answering that question very quickly while the breathing space. I think that your question is really precise, and actually I think that Anjali Segar also addressed it in what she said earlier on, which is that I think Iniva does not resemble anything different now than many of the other institutions in the ecology of the arts offer that's in the UK today. This is precisely the problem, as far as I'm concerned, that it does not represent an alternative now. It does not represent a space of sharing, of openness, of critical dialogue around terms like cosmopolitanism and internationalism, which of course are terms that are now broadly co-opted by the mainstream of the arts offer in the UK and internationally. This is precisely the point, which is it doesn't look different. That would seem to me to be evidentially the problem we need to address.
Laura and
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Ready for 10. My name's Laura Pawson, and I need to ask two questions really I see myself really as an outsider. I mean, I did say David's not coming, I was like, I'm not sure I should be here, but I'm here.
And I have used it in the library a lot, and I've loved it, actually, I have to say. It's fantastic. My questions were, one, I wanted to understand why this is happening right now. I was about to say Gavin. Grant, sorry. Grant. Is it I mean, I'm just a bit cheekily. When I heard that you had left, I said to Phoebe, did he go? Did he leave, or was he pushed?
I resigned.
Okay.
I resigned.
That's maybe me being a bit of a voyeur. The other question I wanted to ask was, why is this happening now? Is it because, slightly related to what you've just said, on the one hand, some outsiders, a lot of people have said that there's a sort of, I'm not saying this is my view, but I think a lot of people on the outside might think there's been a success around Iniva, and that's one of the reasons why you might, talking about other institutions kind of absorbing these terms could be seen as a good thing. It shows there's been progress. And maybe one of the reasons that Iniva needs to move now is because there has been I mean, I think lots of things are going backwards in this country. I'm a real pessimist. But arguably, some things have improved, and maybe Iniva's sort of slipped and isn't keeping up and isn't pushing ahead. That's how I would see it. But I'm interested to understand why this has kind of got to a head right at this moment, because it seems to me, from people I know who've been involved in Iniva for years, that everyone's been complaining about Iniva for ages. And I kind of think, why is this happening now? And maybe that's provocative, maybe it's unnecessary to ask that question, but those are the sort of questions that are in my head, if that's okay. Yeah. I'm looking at you, but I should ask that question.
It's a good question.
I am Sonia, although I know lots of people in this room. I'll try and just say that. Just in terms of thinking about why now. I mean, yes, it's true that for many years people have been outside of the building have been complaining about the drift that's happened at Iniva. I think, and it's sad to say, I think part of the reason of now is Stuart dying. Stuart dying at the same moment that, and I think there's been a sense of that the ground has shifted beneath our feet. The shock of him dying, but also the shock of what we imagined Iniva was, and seeing the gap between that. So I think that's partly it. I think also that the Arts Council's 60% cut, we kind of know is the next step is a full cut. And so, what although I know there's been a lot of discussion about the library, I equally want us to talk about the exhibition programme and the publishing programme as well, in terms of what that has meant in the past and what that could mean in the present and in the future. I think one of the things that has been, and you could call it co-opted by other institutions, and it has been remembered that Iniva for a very long time was an itinerant project, in that it went and collaborated with lots of different institutions on a very big programme for quite a long time before the building became the building. And so, in a way, it was doing its work on those other spaces for quite a long time. Now, I think one of the things that has occurred over the last few years is a kind of disappearance of what is taking place within a British context around the question of internationalism. A lot of what I've seen taking place in some of the big arts institutions have tended to look abroad. And so the question about what is being made now here, I think is one of the key things that I think people are kind of asking. What are the questions now? What are the practices now? And where are people going? Where and why is it not happening in this space where it should really have I wouldn't say a natural home, but a natural dialogue at least.
I'm really glad you said, my name's Jacob, and I'm part of the Sorry for Uncomfortable collective that has been started at Iniva Gallery. And I think it's really great that you just said that about what's happening now and what art's been made now, because the collective, there's 16 of us, and we are all young artists and critical thinkers who are making different kinds of work about a lot of the issues that I think I don't see being addressed in a lot of art institutions. I think it's really great that somebody earlier said, a lady said, that we need more than just a kind of a nod or a symbolic gesture towards white supremacy and towards colonialism and towards the lack of black representation in media and in education and all these kind of things. And I think that often, and I'm sure this is not just young people, but I think a lot of people of colour who are artists or critically analysing things, we start to feel slightly like we're going crazy, because people are constantly telling us that we're talking about it too much, making it about race. Now there's this issue that's like, you know, it's your issue, and actually we can make you feel crazy. And then not coming to Iniva and being part of a collective of 16 artists who are making work about things like imperialism, about Bollywood cinema, about the history of black cinema, like all different things. We realise, well, you know, even if we just pick one thing like colonialism, like, you know, it's a huge topic that goes on, and we could all spend our lives doing completely different things about this, but it's not until we have an institution and a space like that that we can really realise that and feel confident in ourselves. I think Larry said something similar, but I guess I don't see Iniva as being the same as a lot of other art institutions, because I feel like that most of the time when I see work that is international, work by artists from Africa or from America, from artists of colour, it seems like there's a specific aesthetic that they're looking for, that is allowed, and I feel that the difference between Iniva is that, you know, it is hugely the library. Is that it's not just like look at this aesthetic and we're going to tick that box. It's like look at this aesthetic and then actually have the ability to see what it's about and talk to people. And like I personally make a lot of work about Yoruba and West African belief systems that have informed other religions across the diaspora. And I was able to find fantastic books at the library that I'd never heard of before, that really excited me and helped me talk to other people and really gave, you know, but I guess the question I wanted to ask is, I read a piece of writing on the Facebook group about the history of Iniva and how it's kind of mimicked a lot of other galleries like the Tate and Hayward, and how it's kind of fallen into the same kind of institutions as them in a lot of ways, and has stopped being about kind of countering a lot of these really oppressive structures, but it's just become kind of very similar to them. And then it also said that one of the person who wrote the article, and I can't remember who wrote it, was saying that he thought the gallery should move to Peckham, which is like kind of, I wish I agreed with a lot of the article, and then it got to that bit, and then I was like, oh, what? I didn't know if that would solve the problem, because I feel like you know, Shoreditch for me is horrible. It's a horrible place, and I don't feel welcome there, and I just don't feel welcome there at all. And it's kind of, you know, working at Iniva Gallery, you cycle through Shoreditch like, get to Iniva, and they'd be like, yes, like just a kind of breath of fresh air, and the type of people that were often there. It was a real kind of like, you know, like a sacred, special place in the midst of all this horrific bullshit. So I'm not sure. So I guess the question I want to ask is, how do people feel about it moving out of that? Because I think it's good to have a base in the middle of central London, and I don't know if I should think moving to Peckham seems like a good idea to me. Although I would say that it may be slightly easier for it to engage with communities who, like myself, don't feel welcome in places like Shoreditch. So I guess I wanted to ask people how they feel about the location.
I think there are communities in Shoreditch, just as there are communities in Peckham, who feel just like you. They're just like, don't dominate the public space. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So thank you for your great, that's really good.
I do think a number of the themes that have been raised will continue to resurface, and would you like to just go to Jelaine forwards?
I'm not really quite sure where to begin, Anjali, or what your question to me was, but Sonia's absolutely right. Stuart's death in February was quite seismic, and has certainly made me think about what Iniva was, is, and could be. And what's quite extraordinary about the meeting here today is that actually everything that I think responds to that is somehow being encapsulated in the things people have been saying. Iniva, for me, has never been about a building or a site or a physical geographical location. It's been about an idea and about a way of seeing and making from a position of difference, essentially. And, you know, when the Arts Council of Great Britain decided, after a lot of pressure from artists and thinkers, to put the funding into Iniva, they had a blueprint for what that would be. And that blueprint got ripped up on day one, because the blueprint was exactly like every other single art institution that already existed. And there seemed no point. There was even a plan to raise money for a building, but there seemed absolutely no point in raising money for a building simply to create another space, because actually what was missing was not the space, it was what was going on inside those spaces and outside. And, you know, Iniva, for me, was always a collaborative venture, and certainly Stuart, who came on as a temporary chair, quite reluctantly, wouldn't have stayed on for 15 years if Iniva had been anything but a dynamic collaboration between you know, artists and thinkers and publics, and something which was permeable. So I think what's important is a sense of possibility, a sense of possibility of difference. And actually I think now Iniva, and manifestation of whatever Iniva may be in the future, is more important than it has ever been. You're absolutely right to say that those narratives of internationalism and difference and indeed diversity have been co-opted and appropriated. They've also been evacuated of anything that makes them uncomfortable, which is why your project, Barbara, is so brilliant, and I wish I'd been in the country to attend. It has to be about creating discomfort, and it has to be about something that rubs up slightly the wrong way. I got fed up with everybody telling me what Iniva should be, so I'm going to be the last person to say what it should be in the future. But actually that was also great, because I had people, you know, from major institutions telling me it shouldn't be like this, and artists telling me it shouldn't be like that, or it shouldn't be like this, or it shouldn't be like that, or you shouldn't be doing that, or why are you showing, you know, white middle-aged architect like Cedric. You know, it just went on and on and on. Everything was not right, which made me think that maybe there was something not so bad about it.
Hi, very briefly, my name is Adrian Rifkin. I've been working with Iniva. I was at, like Elaine and saw her at the founding conference 20 years ago. And I kind of want to make a remark about that conference and now. Because in a sense that conference was very violent, wasn't it? It was full of disagreement, it was full of agreement. It was really an uproar, and it was very exciting. And part of that discomfort, I feel, which you rightly talk about, is also the fact that the people here are not all in agreement. You know, we have shared objectives, but we're not all in agreement, and there's a discomfort in that agreement. And it's important that, in a sense, that the productivity of that is carried forward as a political project, that we're not identical. Part of the cutting edge of Iniva in the future will come from not swamping that, but turning that into a creative force in the future. I think that's it, and that's what we don't see in the current gallery now, with these sort of nice, harmonious, but some very good exhibitions, it has to be said, speaking to Grant, but it's something which, if you like, the institution needs to embody, which I'm not saying should, but needs to embody, which is, can't be done in universities. It can't be done at the Camden Arts Centre, it can't be done at Tate Modern. And that's when different premises arrive together and clash around what history we're in. And to me, that's quite important. The other thing James was saying before we started was that at that founding conference was Lord Gowrie who opened it and who kind of signed off the Arts Council's responsibility in a way and left it to the room. And now we have Peter Bazalgette, who must be the worst ever. I mean, this is another thing. Why at this moment? Because we have one of the deepest, most violent Philistines coming from the heart of the British ruling class, wealthy for 5 generations, running our world. And we have to fight that violently at some level. I'm probably going to on some terrorist website. But it really is bad. This is the man who started that horrible program on TV. I can't remember its name.
Big Brother.
Big Brother. And I actually met once and we tried to talk to him about labour rights on Big Brother, what happened to the 40-hour week. And he became violent, actually. Just the idea that there could be an infringement of the laws of his form of capital, even a discussion on it. And that's something about now, too. And it's scary. I can't say anything optimistic about that, it's scary.
Hi, John Comfort, filmmaker and artist. You know, on Saturday I was at an event with Sonia Boyce, and a number of things that Sonia said reminded me of the moment of the coming of Iniva that I'd forgotten about. One, of course, was the conference, but the thing that Sonia raised that was really sobering was that the emergence of Iniva was also at the time when a category of practice called ethnic arts was being killed off. Right? Either because it was spectacularly imploding with Ronnie Kapoor's Roundhouse project falling apart, or because many of us had lost faith in its ability to deliver anything politically valuable, charged, etc., etc. This moment's actually not that bad, I'd like to say, theoretically. I think, you know, to quote a Homi barbarism, the emergence can be also about emergence here, because there were several competing narratives that went to create and inaugurate that moment of the international. It never quite had that discussion again, you know, and because we kept quiet about that discussion, what does the international mean? Where is the place of black art in that? What is the space of radical federal practice in that international? And are they the same or different? You know, we didn't finish it off. We had one meeting, done. So this might be a good time, you know, to begin that conversation again. I think it'd be an interesting conversation to have anyway. Even if we lose the money, fuck it. At least we had a good time discussing what it is that we want to do. Thanks.
Maybe we can have to move to our last comments now because we're going to go into our second half.
Yeah. My name is Silvana. I come from Naples, and I would like to say something in the legacy of Stuart. Stuart would come to Naples often, to the post-colonial center at the University of Orientale, and I remember, being much younger, one particular reason why he was so happy that Iniva would be founded and existing. He was telling us many different reasons, but one that really touched me was that he was insisting that that place was meant to be a place of work, a kind of a hospitable venue where young artists would go and produce work. Why did I think, touched me so much. Why that dream was to me so meaningful. Because I work with Derrida, I work in deconstruction, and one book that actually is making my life still meaningful is a book called by Derrida, University Without Conditions. In that book he says that for the future of a new humanity, the university should produce work. If in the past there was the classical work, then we went through the period of the text. Now the only vocation that university should care for is the production of work. To me, the two suggestions somehow created the vision of Iniva. So the idea that some work could be done in a collective and communitarian and shared way, and also that Iniva could also, I teach literature, so I am not an artist, but why would I look at the future of Iniva so with such care and interest? Because I think that this institution, born as a dream of so many people, should also work for the future of the academia. Should also be a place where the academia, should be shocked, should be involved, should change, the kind of indifference that is actually, or cynicism, that is actually tainting our life and making it so difficult. So in a way, there is a legacy, but it is also a kind of something for the future, not only of Iniva, which is so important, and I thank you, all of you, for being here and making the point so relevant. But it's also for, the place where teaching is done. We need places like Iniva to interact and change and be provoked, and also imagine a possible future together with visuality, with intellectual work, with practical sharing, with a new image of, a new vision of the future. So whatever you are doing, I will go back, but whatever you are doing, also consider it's not only from inside, it's also a need from the outside. So it's even a more, important issue for.
Hi, my name's Alia. I'm just sort of interested in this idea of a building and a migratory practice. And just to go back to this idea of work and engagement, and that actually when Iniva did not have a building to exhibit artists' work, that process of engagement was in itself problematic, which enabled work. So there was not this sort of so much emphasis on, a finished art exhibition, but a process of engagement. And for me, actually, it was the moment when the building actually took precedence over the ideological, the idea, the critical space, that actually that was the moment that I felt that was the demise of Iniva. And that's all. I suppose I'd put that up as a question, because I think at that point, when Iniva became an establishment, when Iniva had the ease, then Iniva lost the agenda.
We'll take one last comment and then we'll go to the speaker for our second half.
My one is going to be a very difficult one, because I'm the communication manager of Iniva in the present. Okay? So I've heard lots of comments about past and future, but I think we should stick to the present a little bit. So I just want to start with an emotion, which is sadness, because I think we talked about, this society killing intellectual capacity, but I think this society is also killing emotional capacity. And this is what Iniva is doing to its employees. So we had a very difficult time, and maybe I am a communicator, because my career started with the Whopping project. So I found myself writing and trying to understand what I'm feeling at the moment. And what I'm feeling is that I'm not in love, and it's very easy to communicate when you are in love. So I'm totally out of love with this organization, and so my job is very difficult. I work with culture and with projects, and my life has been created around it, not earning that much money, but because you have dreams and you can develop as an individual. This is not where we are now, and there are two main problems, and this is facts. And one is that our opinions have not been taken in consideration whatsoever. One fact. Second fact, there is a total disconnection from reality in the organization at the moment. That's it. And maybe I'm going to be okay for a while now.